How are you doing? Quite a day. Quite a day today. Yeah, it's a good day. But one of the things that I noticed, one of the things I was thinking about today, is I was going about my day was I was thinking about grief, and I think about that expression. They say good grief. And I think that grief is good, and I think that grief is necessary. Muy necesito. It is a necessary part of things, and what we also know is we also know that tears are the body's way of letting go. So one of the things that happens, it was interesting. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was like, God, I don't even know where this grief is coming from. Like, it's kind of like coming out of left field, or I don't even know what it is that I'm grieving. And sometimes we'll have a loss, and then that loss will, like, it will touch all of these other losses. Like, we'll have the experience of um, of like a much deeper grief uh, than the one grief or the one loss. It's almost like compounded losses or compounded grief. And I think that there's a lot of that. I think right now, a lot of people, excuse me, a lot of people are feeling loss of connection, loss of livelihood, loss of relationship, loss of different ways of being creative and being in the world, and uh, different ways of experiencing inspiration and the capacity to engage in life. And so, we're being asked to do something very, very different than we've ever done before. And, what we're asking to do everything differently than what we've done before. And so when I think about grief, I think about how um, it just surfaces, and it surfaces at the most unexpected times. It's not like, oh, hey, this seems like, I can do my grief now. Seems like a good time. It just comes when it comes. It comes when it comes. And I mean, sometimes I'll just be driving along and I just have to pull over and weep, or I just have to stop and pause and allow the tears to come, and allow the cleansing to come, and the river to come, the river of cleansing. And so I just wonder, like, how much of that backup we all have. Like, we have this backup of tears and sorrow, or even happiness. Sometimes we have a backup of happiness and gratitude and joy. And but sometimes there will be this, like, little pocket full of grief, and it's just like, it's kind of like the overalls, and you kind of forget sometimes, like, oh, there's this other pocket right here, and there's something in it, and we'll just discover, oh, there is something in it, and that something in it right now is grief. And um, I didn't remember that it was in there. I put it in there for safekeeping. And Saffron agrees. Saffron says hello. Hi. Um, and so it's really interesting to think about how, one of the things I like to think about is how feeling is healing. And if I can, be authentic and honest, right, Saffron, and talk about my feelings, if I can feel them, then I can heal them. But if I can't feel them, then they don't have anywhere to go, and they become hardened. And that's one of the things that makes us sick, is our when we don't process our grief, when we don't process our feelings, when we don't let our feelings out, and then we have like a backup of feeling all these different feelings that we haven't expressed. And so it's just interesting to think about that. And I also think about my friend Ardith, had talked about one of her children. Um, One of her children was, I don't want to be like, oh, Ardith. Well, she has 5 children, so so I don't want to be like, oh, Ardith and her children and their feelings. But one of them had said that their therapist mentioned that um, when you're crying, you need to cry because you never know what you might be letting go. You never know what you might be grieving. And so, uh, in this time, I think especially there's some things that we're grieving. There's some things that we are letting go of, but also there's some things that are being introduced. As much as there are things that are being let go of, there's also things that are being introduced, things that are being ignited, things that are being encouraged, inspired, awakened. And so, in addition to the grieving, one of the things that my mom taught me, that my mother Matilda, my Matilda mom, because I have two moms, my Barbara mom and my Matilda mom. But one of the things that my Matilda mom taught me, I remember I had lost my mentor. When my mentor died, Angelus Arian died, and I was bereft. I really just did not think I was going to be able to, I don't know, I didn't think I was going to be able to survive that somehow. And I was so bereft. But my mother let me know, she said, sweetheart, um, even though you're grieving, you can also experience happiness. Like you can have happiness even though you have grief. And that was kind of like an awakening for me. I was like, whoa, like I can have happiness and grief at the same time. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thought, and that that we can have joy even though we're having this experience of loss, that we can uh, that even though we're all in transition, everyone is in transition, and nobody really kind of knows from day to day, like what's going on and what the fuck is going to happen tomorrow. Like nobody really knows that, and that's great. But what we do know is we do know that we have this opportunity to step into the unknown and to receive the unknown, and to let go of a lot of things that and experiences and even people, that or ways of being with certain people, uh, and we have a lot of thresholds that we have to cross, but in our tears and in our letting go and in our little and great lakes of grief, in our small and great lakes of grief, we need to just remember that feeling is healing, and that if I still have the capacity to feel, then I can heal. I can have a different experience. I can have an experience. So I was appreciating a couple of these. I found a couple of poems that I really like, but there's one that I really appreciated, uh, called Intertwined Heaven. But there's this other that is by Dr. Javed Nurbakash, and this is a master of a Sufi order, and it starts, through love I have reached a place where no trace of love remains, where I and we, the painting of existence, have all been forgotten and left behind. Now, who can know where I am? Here, where no knowledge, no opinion can be found. So sweet. I know. Here, where no knowledge, no opinion can be found. Here, even love is bewildered, and the intellect is crazy, talking nonsense, totally impoverished. I have no wealth, no identity of self, free from faithfulness and faithlessness, a stranger to myself and all acquaintances, yet only for this can I still be blamed. That a cry comes from me out of grief. I say, you have gone. How is it that I know not where? You have gone. How is it that I know not where? And I think we're all asking this question right now. What has gone from us? Even aspects of ourselves, people, places, things. We're also losing people to COVID, people that we love, people that we cherish and care about. We're losing people to COVID, but we're also losing experiences and people and places and things right now. And I think that it's essential and important that we're able to say, well, where have you gone? And but also to allow ourselves to be in that liminal space where we don't know who the fuck we are. Like, how can I be okay with like not knowing who I am? Like, I don't know who I am today. I have no idea. Right. And how can that be an okay thing where no trace of love remains, where I've left behind now? Who can know where I am? Who can know who I am? Who can know that? I don't even know. And the intellect is crazy and talking nonsense. And, we've all been there. But what I appreciate is Angela's Arian used to say, she said, it takes no courage to have an intellectual conversation. And so we have to let go of hopes, we have to let go of dreams, we have to let go of all of these things. But then what we have is we have the ability to let go. Then we have the ability to let go. And some days, and then other days we don't, but we have the ability to let go. And so I would ask myself, how is it that we know not where we've gone? And how can we be with that? How can we be with that instead of scurrying around looking for the new experience or identity or person or place or thing? It's really beautiful. An anonymous friend of mine, in recovery, says that we cannot know, and what is important is that in that not that we cannot know, and that what's important is that we are able to let go and to allow the creator to take over. But what they say that it's a God-shaped hole inside of us. It's a God-shaped hole, and we have a create, and then nothing else is going to fill that. Like, we'll look for all of the other things, but what's true is that we have to have a relationship with something else, with something greater than we are, and something more adept and wise, and engaged. And we don't know what the future brings, and we don't really know who we are. And what we get to do is we get to discover who we are. And so, can we discover who we are each day? Are we able to say, "Oh, I don't know who I am today," but what I can do is I can discover that, and I can, maybe, keep these pieces that I value, but then I can grieve and let go of the aspects of myself in my life that no longer work for me, or that are no longer really actually authentically a part of me, and that no longer serve me, or they don't really even serve themselves. And so I think about this letting go. I think about how healing and feeling are essential, that they must accompany one another. But I would ask, myself, like, this is something I teach in my leadership course. Like, when we think about our identities, like, what is the identity that is currently leaving? What is my identity that I'm currently letting go of? And what is the identity, or what are the identities that are emerging in my life right now? Who am I? What is emerging, or what is unknown to me about myself and about my own identity? And how can I allow that to really inform how I want to live today? And so I want to read this piece called Intertwined Heaven by Samahima Sophie Johnson. Remember your own soulless place, deep in your eyes, pure, illumined silence. Remember to recognize your peace of mind, the source of light, even through the dark tunnels sometimes crossing our lives. The soul only embraces events received out of emanating light, no matter if it is clear to you, regardless of whether your thoughts about the world speak truth or confusion to you. In your mind and memories, fighting your tears and grief, thinking you have hurt yourself, fearing you cannot forgive, afraid life is not trustworthy. I say to you, you are like the most gentle and beautiful clay, forming and shaking and shaping as the breakers brush against the cliff, always moving, changing. Like a river that never ceases, you are one with the oceans altering horizons. You are one with the oceans altering horizons, where darkness meets light and seasons shift between our souls. Don't be afraid of what you do not understand and cannot yet grasp. If you are lost in the dark night of the soul, nothing has ever happened that was not meant, even if your thoughts tell you this is not so. We share the same intertwined heaven. We are carried and held in the same light. We are loved in the same light. Light will not elude you. Let every breath fill your mind with peace. Let your soul enfold courageously in divine wisdom and open itself for the beautiful things that want to enter your life from the future. The greatest truth is love. The only thing that matters is that you are alive. The only thing that matters is that you are alive. And that's translated from Swedish to English by the author, Sama Himmel, Sophie Johnson. And so also I think about just that statement of sitting in the dark together, that it's important that, we recognize that as much as we are engaged with the daylight and being illumined, we're also in the velvety sweetness of the unknown and the sweet darkness, and the beautiful darkness. And I think about that statement of sitting in the darkness together, and what do we feel, what do we notice, and what are we healing? Thank you so much. I hope you have a marvelous, marvelous week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you.